It's winter, and you can now get almost anything you need for the coldest months of the year delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a ski slope delivered, but you can get dish soap delivered. Sunshine, that's a no. But a bottle of wine, that's a yes. A snow angel, sorry, no. But angel hair pasta, Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol and select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
Are negative Google reviews hurting your business? Don't let unfair feedback cost you customers. At Webamax, we specialize in removing false, misleading, and damaging reviews so your online reputation stays strong. Our expert team works quickly and legally to clean up your digital presence, helping you rebuild trust. Visit us on the web at www.gowebamax.com. That's GOWEBIMAX.com, or text us for a free quote at 856-840-8343. Don't let bad reviews define you. Get immediate help from Webamax.
Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. This episode is brought to you by Abercrombie. Build your fits of the day with Abercrombie's newest denim drop. Here's where to start. Abercrombie's 90s straight jean goes with any shirt from tees to sweater polos. Super versatile. Their loose and baggy jeans are more trend forward, so you can grab those and go out with your friends. Abercrombie's denim fits come in a range of washes. Build your looks around Abercrombie denim. Shop online or in-store.
Welcome back to Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. We are part of the Fans First Sports Network. You can follow us on our YouTube channel as well at LA Rams Up. I'm your host, Mark. I'll be joined occasionally by my football gurus, Paul and Ian. Let's get to it. Hey, welcome back, Ram fans. Episode 660 of Rams Up here. Hope you're all doing great. Going to get into my 13 thoughts, some of it on the Super Bowl, a little bit on the Rams, a little bit on the NFL in general. Before we get going here, episode 660, let's talk about a Ram who wore number 60, and we have a good one for you here today. Guard Dennis Hara, 6'5", 260 pounds, out of the University of Miami, selected 11th overall by the Rams in 1975. Played behind Joe Schiavelli. 1 year, the great Joe Schiavelli, then took over and anchored that line at that position for 12 years. Finished his career with the Rams 168 games played. Helped the Rams win 6 NFC West titles and played in that Super Bowl. Nicknamed Herc by his teammates, short for Hercules. First team All-Pro in 1986, 5-time Pro Bowler, and number 22 on my list of all-time greatest Rams as shared last summer. Dennis Hara, another great Rams offensive lineman, my number 60 for the Los Angeles Rams. I'm going to share my 13 thoughts with you here, and then I'm going to get into that pet peeve, my resolution of a pet peeve I shared a couple of weeks ago, my idea, my special assistant's idea for improving how the NFL schedules those outlier games, the 3 unique games each team plays, an entertaining way of determining who you play, and the result, a much fairer schedule. 13 thoughts. Number 1, regarding the Kansas City Chiefs, we had to see this coming, right? But we just wouldn't accept it. They were not impressive all season long, finding ways to win, but not impressively at all, in my opinion. And we all said it, including me. You know what? They're going to figure it out in the playoffs like they always do. I had them ranked like 5th, 6th, and 7th at times, but I kept on qualifying it, saying, you know what? They're going to end up in the Super Bowl and they're probably going to win it. But that was kind of naive of all of us, I think. This Chiefs team did not meet their standards of greatness that they have in years past. They're a good football team with a great quarterback, but running up against a complete team like the Philadelphia Eagles and perhaps the LA Rams as well, just cannot hang with them, and the Chiefs go down in flames. And my second thought, Jalen Hurts, what about him? Is he Mr. Clutch? He's played in 2 Super Bowls. He's 1-1, but pretty much flawless in the 2 games. Pretty impressive. And it's kind of a bummer he's in the NFC because the Rams are going to have to go through the Eagles to get to the Super Bowl. They are the class of the NFC right now, ahead of the Lions, Packers, Rams, Niners, everybody else. Are they beatable? Absolutely, but it ain't going to be easy. And my third thought, we go back and forth on this. Hey, defense wins championships. And then we see teams with great offenses win the Super Bowl. It kind of fluctuates back and forth. But the Eagles, as good as their offense looked, especially Jalen Hurts, and, they got Barkley, barely needed him in this game. But they've done it with defense more than the offense, in my opinion. And someone pointed this out. I did not realize this, but they're playing the University of Georgia defense, aren't they? 5 Georgia Bulldogs drafted for their defense over 2022 and 2023. They didn't draft any last year, but Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Keely Ringo, and Nakobe Dean, all hailing from the University of Georgia. And my fourth thought is, and this is on the Cowboys and Jerry Jones, I think the Saints got the better coach, Kellen Moore, rather than Brian Schottenheimer going to the Cowboys. And this is how Jerry does his business. Kellen Moore would have stolen the spotlight from him more so than Brian Schottenheimer. He wants to win, but he doesn't want the coach getting all the credit. So Kellen Moore ends up in New Orleans, and Saints fans should be thrilled. My fifth thought is Deebo Samuel asking for a trade. Kind of saw this coming too. I don't know, what he brings to the table for a potential new team. Not interested in him for the Rams, obviously, but man, I think his skill set has really diminished over the last year or so. And my sixth thought, people were up in arms over the Fox graphics during the Super Bowl. I didn't even know that was called a score bug. And, as I was watching the game, with no sound, by the way, just how I roll, was doing some other things. Didn't even watch probably half the game. And I think I noticed something was a little bit different, but nothing that really upset me or got me spun up. The graphics, kind of old school. Some folks comparing it to a high school type graphics. I didn't really have a problem with it. Whatever. They changed it up. And man, people get fired up over stuff like that, don't they? Thought number 7, J.B. Scott of Turf Show Times, suggesting that Aaron Rodgers, cut by the Jets, by the way, would be the perfect bridge quarterback for the Rams if they move on from Matthew Stafford. I have a hard no on this one. Just too much of a distraction, too much going on in Aaron Rodgers' head these days. Don't want him leading our franchise. And besides, he hasn't been very good recently, has he? Now, thought number 8, his Jets teammate, Davante Adams, asking to be traded or released so he could sign with, I think he's got the Chargers, Rams, and 49ers in mind, wants to play on the West Coast. And, I discussed this with my special assistant, and my initial thought was, man, let's jump all over this. Maybe Matthew Stafford, a restructured contract, would allow for the Rams to sign Davante Adams and to add a bonus, keep him off the 49ers. And we decided, you know what, not really worth the trouble. Davante Adams, north of 30 years old now, not the receiver he used to be, still a great weapon, but probably the wrong direction for our Rams. Thought number 9, very possible the Rams will end up playing in that Thursday night opening game against the Eagles. Remember, defending Super Bowl champion hosts an opponent, a worthy opponent, an interesting opponent on the Thursday night to open the season. And Rams have to be near the front of the line for that game. Other possibilities, the Lions, Commanders, and Cowboys. I think they'd shy away from a divisional game, which would reduce it to the Rams and Lions. And I think the Rams might end up playing in that game. I really do. But then again, remember, the Rams and Eagles are probably going to kick off the 2026 season in Australia, and maybe that's reason enough to not have them play in this game in Philadelphia. But it'd be a great time of year to travel to Pennsylvania, so that would be the upside. And maybe, Eagles aren't in a groove yet. Opening day, anything can happen. Rams certainly capable of beating the Eagles regardless, but in September, a little bit less of an advantage for the Eagles in that home game. Thought number 10, hey, Sean McVay was clearly rooting for the Chiefs, or maybe just Andy Reid. And you know what? After that Rams-Eagles game, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I thought that was a pretty brief, maybe even terse handshake between those two coaches, Nick Sirianni and Sean McVay.
This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. Gladiator 2 is now streaming on Paramount Plus. Rated R. Years after the death of Maximus, Lucius is forced into the Colosseum after his home is conquered by tyrannical twin Roman emperors. With the future of the empire at stake, he must find strength and honor to return the glory of Rome to its people. Gladiator 2, now streaming on ParamountPlus.com.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Thought number 11, ESPN's power rankings posted right after the Super Bowl. I didn't get it, and it doesn't line up with the Super Bowl odds for next year at all. We'll get to that in a second as well. The Chiefs, the number 1 ranked team? Seriously? The Lions at number 3, I think that's a little high as well. The Eagles at 4, I think they deserve to be the number 1 team because they should be bringing most everybody back. And man, yeah, hey, there's always a Super Bowl hangover, but I don't think you account for that in your power rankings. And the Rams come in at number 12, and I'm okay with that. That's about where they belong right now with some uncertainties on their roster. And the 49ers, by the way, at number 13. I would have the 49ers a little bit higher if it were me. That does not mean, however, that I'm backing off my contention that at the end of the 2024 season, the Rams had the second best team in the NFL, my number 2 team in the end-of-year power rankings. Thought number 12, I shared those ESPN power rankings that I thought were kind of odd. The Super Bowl odds for next year make a little bit more sense. They are 1 through 10, the Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bills, Lions, 49ers, Bengals, Commanders, and Packers, and number 10, per the odds makers, our Los Angeles Rams. And that kind of makes sense to me. I don't have issue with those odds at all. And my 13th thought, I talked about Mick Cronin the other day, the UCLA basketball coach, and how he went off on his players a while back, and then they bounced back, won 7 straight, cruising along now, looking really competitive. And I saw a snippet of him taking a question in a press conference, and this poor reporter, dared to ask Mick Cronin, hey, it's a struggle flying from the West Coast to East Coast for basketball games. How does it compare to those teams that have to fly from the East Coast to the West Coast? Is it kind of the same deal? Does it all kind of even out? And Mick Cronin was having none of it. Now, I don't know if there's a history with this reporter, but Cronin just went off on him, telling him there is no comparison. These teams in the Big Ten have to fly to Los Angeles. Now, he's talking specifically Big Ten basketball, but these teams that fly into LA, they play the Bruins, and then they play USC. They stay at the same hotel. Their arenas are 12 miles apart, and then they have to fly into New York 3 different times for basketball games, flying all over the Midwest. So no, sir, there is no comparison. And he said, hey, go check the NBA odds when a West Coast team has to travel to the East Coast and see how far those odds swing in favor of the East Coast team. And, I was watching this, and I love Mick Cronin as a coach, but I think he went a little bit overboard on his response to this guy. I really felt bad for him, but Mick Cronin at least getting his point across. It's a really big challenge for USC and UCLA in the travel department, and that's going to apply to football as well, every sport. Pretty tough situation to be in, traveling to the Midwest and the East Coast, playing teams like Rutgers in the Big Ten, as opposed to these other teams maybe making one trip every other year to the LA area. And he also pointed out that, he has friends back in Cincinnati that want to come out for every game in LA, visit SoCal. As he put it, everybody wants to be here. And he has to beat them off, tell them, hey, if you're coming out here, it's not vacation time with me and my family. I'm busy. I'm coaching a basketball game. That was the point he's trying to get across. But that press conference, pretty entertaining. Not sure if I would be asking Mick Cronin any questions at this point. Gets a little salty real fast with Mick Cronin. One of the sports pet peeves I've hit on a couple of times is the weighting of the NFL schedules, where first place teams play first place teams, last place teams play last place teams. That used to happen in 2 such games, and that would be, if the NFC West is playing the NFC North in a given year, they would play the first place teams from the NFC South and the NFC East. And that got even worse when they added that interconference game, and they treated that the same way. Now the first place in the NFC West would play a first place team from another AFC division on a rotating basis. And it's really gotten out of hand, an unbalanced schedule for sure. And I've hit on this a couple of times, and yeah, I am whining. I absolutely am. Next year, the Rams will be playing the Lions, Eagles, and Ravens, while the last place 49ers would be playing the Bears, Browns, and Giants. Let that sink in for a second. And, I don't have a problem with maybe one of those games, maybe even 2, being weighted in that way. But I really think once the season starts, everybody should be on a level playing field with similar schedules. I'm okay with the last place teams getting the higher draft pick. They're first in the waiver wire order as well. But once the league starts, the league play starts, hey, why don't we just give the 49ers 6 points every game? How about that? So I had an idea. Actually, I think it was my special assistant that came up with this, and I kind of built on it. The NFL is sitting on a little bit of a minor gold mine here. Why don't they take a randomized approach for these 3 games, right? And you could even do a lottery, a televised lottery, where everybody tunes in to find out which of these 3 teams your team is going to play. The Rams, for example, are they going to play the Ravens? Are they going to play the Steelers, Browns, or Bengals? Same thing for the NFC North. And it could be done in a very sensible, entertaining way. You got all the AFC North team names in a bucket and the NFC West. Let's say the last place team goes first. And you could even have maybe 2 of the last place teams' name in the bucket, so the 49ers are more likely to draw that first. And as they draw a name, hey, that's the team on their schedule, and so forth. And you could have each division take turns picking. Obviously, you can't have the NFC West doing all the picking for all 3 divisions. You rotate it around, you could figure it out. And how entertaining would that be? And how much fairer would that be? And remember, this isn't going to disrupt this plan of playing every team in the league at home once every 8 years. That wouldn't go away because you're still going to play the entire AFC North one year. But in the 1 year where you're getting that division on a rotating basis and you're only playing one team from that division, pick the names out of a hat. I would tune in for that for sure, rather than looking on a piece of paper and saying, oh, we get the AFC North, we're first place, we're playing the Ravens. Makes a lot of sense to me. Now, if the NFL ever goes to that, I want the credit for it. I don't know if anyone else has ever thought of this. My special assistant and I came up with this brilliant idea. It will never happen. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.